Hey, gaming crew! Welcome to my top 3 games of July 2018. If you'd like to listen to the previous month's podcast, you'll find the link in the description below. Please note, this is my top 3 list out of all the games I played throughout the month. It does not include games that I played before 2018. The criteria I used is arbitrarily ranked with an arbitrary rating system and solely reflects my preferences. If you have a list of games that you enjoyed, that's great. Let me know in the comments below. If you think I'm wrong about a game I like and that I should have liked something else, please move along. This is my list and not yours. Please also note that I may mispronounce some names, so please forgive me in advance. And with that, let's get going with July 2018. You know you have to feel welcome to play a game when the greeting is right on the box. There's a small town feel to the game with many of the elements of its older sibling, Urban Sprawl. The difference between the two is a core mechanic. The first game used cards and contracts with roles and events. The newer, lighter Civilization game is based on one of my favorite things, dice. What game is this? It's Welcome to Centerville. Welcome to Centerville is a game designed by Chad Jensen and published by GMT Games. It hosts from 2 to 4 players, aged 12 or older, and lasts 40 to 80 minutes. Where Urban Sprawl started this series for me, Welcome to Centerville brings it home, though with slightly less complexity. I don't need all my games to be super complex, and I find that city building games don't have to be overly so. In Welcome to Centerville, players roll dice, Yahtzee style, in an attempt to generate the resources they need. The dice allow you to obtain political offices, land, buildings, and learn vocations. You try to maximize your presence in these locations in order to grab up the most points you can. Do you build parks if you have the dice? How many votes did you receive to claim a political office? Do you have the most buildings in town? Are you building on the river or on either side of it? Which vocations do you go after? One of each or a majority in one? The dice tell you what you can do, and if you roll well and strategically keep the ones that work the best for you, you'll go far. This is a great game that's about mid-complexity. I love dice-chucking games and push-your-luck style games as well. This is definitely a game to play if you enjoy SimCity, Cities Skylines, or other city building games, but don't want to deal with super thinky moves or a lot of mathematics. I highly suggest you give it a try. I've said it many times before, I love space and science fiction themed games. What I like even more is exploring planets and trying to make them habitable. Well, throw drafting into the mix, which is optional, and a race to develop the planet, and you get game number 2 on this list, Terraforming Mars. Terraforming Mars is a game designed by Jacob Frixelis and published by Frix Games. It hosts from 1 to 5 players, aged 12 or older, and lasts 2 hours. This, my friends, is a wonderful game that takes much longer than what it states. Perhaps for a 3-player game, 120 minutes is about right. But when you get to 4 or 5 players, you'll be there for the long haul. I played in one game that lasted about 6 hours. No joke. Luckily, that was an outlier rather than the norm. In this game, you're a corporation in a race to terraform and colonize Mars better than anyone else. You're keeping track of several things on the board: oxygen level, water level, heat, number of cities, plant life, microbes, pets, animals, icons, resources, other players' resources, icons, and a bunch of other things. You can also optionally draft your cards during the game, which makes things a bit more complex and adds a good amount of time to the game, about 15 to 30 minutes total, based on how fast people read and understand the cards. But drafting can sometimes be well worth it, because you can get a better hand than just a blind draw. It sounds overwhelming, but this isn't very complex. This is a medium to high medium game, and while there is a lot to keep track of, most of the information is displayed openly. The only hidden aspects are each player's hand of cards. These you play in front of you by paying their cost and then following their instructions. Some of the cards are events, others are actions, while others provide you with a one-time benefit. Almost all of the cards provide you with icons such as science, life forms, building, space, earth, and so on. The icons help you pay for cards by meeting the card's requirements, not by discarding cards, or meet milestones or rewards. As you progress through the game, a lot of your actions will help you earn victory points in one way or another. This can be a milestone, which gives only you victory points when you claim it, an award which is given to the first and second place winners of the category, your terraforming rating, which is increased when oxygen and heat increase or when water is placed, and through cards themselves. Terraforming rating is your base victory points at the end of the game, and it also dictates how much income you receive at the end of each round when you produce resources. The TR track around the outside of the board also keeps track of how many generations has gone by, the number of rounds, which is an interesting statistic for multiplayer, but is a part of the solo experience as well. There's a lot more to even the base game than what I've described here, and there's even more with the expansions that have been published for this game. This is a really, really awesome game that I will love for years and years to come. If you haven't played it yet, you really should at least once. If you have the same love of science fiction and Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, then this game is probably right up your alley. Highly recommended. So what is the top game of this month with Terraforming Mars stuck at a measly second place? Well, it's another science fiction game about space exploration and exploitation. You have a lot to do in this game as well, especially since you're trying to harness energy from specific heavenly bodies. Oh, and this game takes up a lot of space. What is it? Pulsar 2849. Pulsar 2849 is a game designed by Vladimir Suki and published by Czech Games Edition. It hosts from 2 to 4 players aged 14 or older and lasts from 60 to 90 minutes. The setup for this game seems to take a while, but then again, we were learning the game and had to figure everything out. This game is big. It mimics the look of a comet, complete with tail. In this game, you're trying to capture pulsars and harness them for energy. Players build up their technological prowess and use dice to purchase actions. This is another dice drafting game, of which I am a fan. You gain points throughout the game by exploring, by unlocking technologies, and through common goals that everyone is trying to achieve. Each game is different. I'm not sure of the different permutations available. I didn't calculate it. But there are quite a number of ways the game can be set up. And due to how the dice are rolled and drafted, your choices are constantly in flux. There are also asynchronous player powers and variable player order mechanics, which make everything even more interesting. At the beginning of each round, the first player rolls the dice. 7 or 9 if you're in a 2 to 3 or 4 player game, respectively. Then, the dice are set on a board in spaces based on their values. You then determine the median die with all dice laid out. This will be the 4th or 5th die in the row, depending on player count. The median marker is then placed on that space, and the player covers everything there. You'll then be able to tell if there are more dice to the right or the left of the median, and you move the median marker one space in the direction that has the most dice. If there are the same number of dice, the median marker remains where it is. Why does this matter? Well, when you take a die, you move either your initiative or your engineering marker to the left or right, a number of spaces based on which side the median marker you've chosen to die from, and how far away from the median the die is. If the median marker is on a die space instead of in between, then you don't move your markers. After this first die, a second die is taken and you follow the same rules above. In this way, the drafting of the dice changes the turn order and also dictates how many engineering cubes a player generates during the production phase. If you choose higher valued dice too often, you could land on -1 or -2 spaces in either the initiative or engineering tracks. This is an immediate loss of those points. Another way to gain points and abilities is to link up transmitters. They give you extra dice, points, powers, and other abilities, but the main goal is to fly around the galaxy, laying claim to pulsars and building gyrodynes around them. The main goal is to gain control of as many pulsars as you can, since they provide points each turn. Technologies also provide points each round, so there are multiple ways to gain and generate points. Finally, there are 3 common goal tiles which you score at the end of the game that provide 2 different bonus point opportunities. After 8 rounds, the game ends and you go to end of game scoring. There's a quick reference sheet that provides all the end game scoring in order so you can easily figure out points for each player. The one with the most victory points wins. This is a game with a lot of wow factor and has a huge table presence. Have this game set up at a convention or a gaming event and people are going to stop, look, and possibly watch the game as it unfolds. It is a beautiful game with a lot of choice, even though the dice are the main randomizing factors. The good thing is that the randomness is mitigated with the dice draft mechanic. This is a pretty heavy game, not as heavy as Twilight Imperium 4 or Antiquity, but it's up there. It's not for the casual gamer who enjoys lighter games. There's a lot of thinking, plotting, planning, and strategic movement involved. But I'll tell you that this is one of the best games I've played and owned. If they ever release any expansions for this game, I'm going to be screwed since I'll probably buy every single one. If you're up to playing complex game, give this one a try. And there you have it, the top 3 games I played in July 2018. I hope you enjoyed the post and that I may have inspired you to play some or all of the games that I've mentioned here. Look for the next top 3 very soon. Until then, game on! And as always, this is Excalibur, and I am out.